Hey guys, I'm super stoked to have my friend and extraordinaire realtor on the show today. He is Pete Peterson. He owns Dream Huge Realty, and he's an absolute rock star agent and a brokerage owner. And it's exciting to have him on the program. Welcome, Pete.
Thank you, Jim, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course,
Excited.
I'm excited to have you on. So, for those people that don't know your amazing, reputation in the industry and all the things you've accomplished, let's walk everybody through just kind of a little bit of a backstory about where you come from and what you've done.
Oh man, let's see how far we want to go. 1977, Akron, Ohio.
I had a guy do that one time from birth
Yeah,
all the way through.
right. No, as far as I guess we'll keep it real estate related.
Yeah, yeah.
20 years ago, my wife and I house hacked our very first residence.
Nice.
I was in love with just trying to get a return on my money.
Yeah.
How can I scale? Look, I've grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so we always kind of had that mindset. How can we scale and manage our time better, and do things more wisely in order to help more people? Ultimately, the more people that we can help, the more money we all can make, right? So I
Yeah.
was always interested in business, entrepreneur type ventures. I came across house hacking before it was even a term, right? My wife and I, we were out looking for a house. I said, why don't we get a duplex? We could live in one half, we could rent out the other.
Yeah.
And to me, it makes the most sense. Well, we come across a guy who was getting out of the business at the time, and this was 20 years ago, when you could get a commercial loan with 10% down and a cosigner. And I
Wow.
knew nothing about private money. I knew nothing about the Burr method. So to me, at that time, it was we come across a duplex. And there was two duplexes side by side.
Yeah.
We let's make an offer on these. Oh, he happened to have 15 units. Okay, so that was 360,000 for 15 units. And I had saved up a few bucks, so I had 36,000 saved. So I
Right.
put 36,000 down. And we moved into one of the 15 units before we moved straight out of our apartment into one of those units at the age of 26.
Wow.
And that's
Good
when our
story.
real estate investing career began. So I
Wow.
was an investor before I was an agent, and
Uh-huh.
before I was a broker, and I
Uh-huh.
still am primarily a real estate investor.
Right.
And that's what I think makes our brokerage a lot different than those in the area. Is we are first and foremost real estate investors, and I preach that to the team
Yeah.
because I truly think that's the best way to build wealth,
Yeah.
financial freedom for you and your family. So that's how it all started 20 years ago.
Gotcha.
And now we build up to today. We have Dream Huge Realty. We have a brokerage of, an amazing team of agents, approaching 50 agents, in only 4 years in business. Um, we do property management. We have 600 units that we manage, 200 of which are mine personally, my wife and I.
Wow.
So there's that. We also do some flips, as far as that goes. So we kind of went all in. So my idea on that was, if I'm going to be an investor, I kind of want to pull the curtain back on the whole real estate business, and I want
Mhm.
to learn everything about it, and I want to be obsessed with the business.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to get my license, and
Yeah.
I'm going to learn it from that side.
Mhm.
And then from there, 2 years after I had my license, I had my 40 deals under my belt. Went ahead and got the broker's license, and then it just snowballed from there, and we continued to add units, and I just put another 56 units in contract on
Wow.
Monday. So we'll be up to
Wow.
256 that we own completely, by ourselves, no partners.
Wow.
I'm proud to say that. And
Huge.
so we continue to grow, and that's what we do.
Well, that's interesting, guys. I think I'm an investor as well, and I think that, the one thing that's often missed with brokerage owners like yourself is teaching people that selling real estate is a path to real estate investing, and that should be the main focus of this is why we're doing what we're doing is to go out there and invest in real estate because that's going to be creating long-term wealth. What we do every day in selling is just paying the bills, but the goal is to own real estate, which I think is brilliant. So I'm assuming then that you are coaching your own agents. Hey, listen, let me show you how to buy your first home, your first rental, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
We have A portion of our sales meeting every week is dedicated strictly to real estate investing.
Nice.
Different methods, and we all share different wins and losses from investing. Yeah, and we have, investors big and small, rookies and veterans on the team, and we're all sharing and learning from each other. We were for a while even having an investor meetup, with just random investors in the community were coming
Yeah.
in and sharing, and that worked out great. And we still do that. We still have investors come in and talk to the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, look, I mean, buying and selling in real estate is great, and the commissions are awesome. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but I'm glad you agree with me on this. It's a job, and it can be a
Absolutely.
24/7 job if you want to do it right and do it
Right.
well.
Yeah.
You better be 24/7.
Right.
And what I preach to the agents is, look, you don't want to be working for the rest of your life. You
No.
want to put some systems in place with cash flowing real estate so that it can pay you, so you can have that financial freedom
Yeah.
to do with what your time, you can buy your time back that way, and you can
Yeah.
be free. So that's what we preach. And yeah, like I said, we help folks start with nothing, as little as a duplex or a single family. And I jokingly call it cash flow Ohio. Okay. It's not just Ohio. Our particular area is cash flow Ohio. And it truly is, because you can find good deals here that cash flow
Yeah.
and appreciate well. And we're just in a nice little sweet spot right in between Columbus and Cleveland, about an hour either way.
What's the city name? Pete?
Mansfield.
Mansfield, Ohio. Got
And
it.
again, it's going back to helping people out. We need 5,000 units just in Mansfield alone.
Yeah.
Columbus needs 100,000 units.
Wow.
So a good landlord, a good property developer is a huge asset to this community.
Yeah.
So, we're all giving back to the community while at the same time, making a profit, which is not a
Yeah.
bad word.
No, no, that's that's a good thing,
Yeah.
right? So when you're talking about at your level of investing, are you doing you're doing portfolio loans and you're working with local community banks? I'm just curious as an investor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do use a couple local banks,
Mhm.
portfolio loans, yes. And that seems to be the best for me. I jokingly went to my buddy here recently, and I said, "Hey, I can go out, just so you know, I can take this out to a loan broker. So
Yeah.
treat me right, because I'd rather deal with you here locally. It's a
Right.
locally owned bank. It's
Yeah.
a good friend of mine." So he made the deal happen. So I'm very thankful for that. And we're continuing to build our relationship. But again, it's the old saying, it's not personal. It's just business,
Yeah.
right?
And I think the interesting thing is when you're an investor, how many other deals has come to you being an investor? Because you're dealing with painters and landscapers and all these people that are in the trade industry. And there's just a natural kind of a networking that occurs when you start getting into the investment side of the world. And everybody that you talk to in your own sphere of influence, like when I'm coaching agents and I'll say, hey, have you asked your whole sphere of influence, have you ever thought about buying a rental property? Every one of them will say, yes. Well, what held you back? What's your holdback? Well, let's get you past that. And then that's an opportunity to have that conversation that you may never have had. And I'm sure you're coaching and training your team around that too as well.
Great conversation starter. And we take
Yeah,
it even further than that. And once they say, yes, I have thought about it, I say, sweet, let me help you run the numbers on one.
I
Let
love
me
it.
put you on the save search. And when one piques your interest, or I find one for you, I will crunch the numbers and put it on a nice spreadsheet for you. It shows your cash on cash return, your cap rate. It shows your DCR, your debt coverage ratio, which most banks like to see that number 1.2 or higher. So I kind of educate them, and I show them that, and it is so valuable. And I have all the agents doing that,
Yeah,
because that really helps them crunch the numbers on those properties. And it also helps to justify offers too, because some of these sellers get a little overzealous. And we can say,
right.
well, here's our offer, and this is why,
Yeah.
because the bank's requiring that the debt coverage ratio is at least 1.2%.
Hmm.
Or in other words, you're going to cover your mortgage payment and your operating expenses, and still have an extra 20% cash to deal with,
Yeah.
on a monthly and yearly basis for unknown things that may arise. So they like to see that 1.2% debt coverage ratio number. I don't
Yeah.
want to get too much in the weeds with everybody, but that's one of the keys to know when you're analyzing rental properties. And Bigger Pockets is like the number one resource for that. So
Yes.
check out biggerpockets.com. And we are pro members. It's like $400 a year. And that's where I run that nice PDF. They also have a fix and flip calculator that we use. But the rental property calculator is huge, not only for your own stuff, but for putting in front of the client's face and saying, look at this. Another great feature of that report is it shows the cash flow, obviously, and a lot of investors get hung up on cash flow.
Yeah.
But you'll run the numbers and they'll say, well, it's cash flowing, it's making about 200 a month. 200 a month, it's not worth my time to mess with that. Okay, let's look down here on the second page and it shows you the appreciation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the profit if sold per year. So if you go into year 5 and it shows you your profit if sold, because you've got appreciation, you've got debt pay down, you've got tax benefits,
Yep.
you've got cash flow. So you've got all those things adding into your profit if sold. Let's look at year 10. Better yet, let's look at year 15 and 20 and shows you your total profit if sold. Now, how's that $200 a month number look to you?
Yeah.
And now their eyes light up and say, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's very interesting you say that because agents get hung up on cash and cash, flow. And I can't tell you how many properties I bought with no cash flow. And I was thrilled to buy it because I got appreciation. And for us that are high income earners, you got the depreciation, which as a real estate, being in the real estate industry, we get to take that as a income off of our income. So I mean, there's so many ways that we can make money on real estate rather than just cash on cash, which is an interesting whole concept. Brilliant. And I want to just point out something you mentioned doing the investor meetings, which I think is really smart. We have another company that I do some brokerage coaching with, Lifetime Realty, and they do the same thing, which I think is really brilliant, where you bring in local investors and even cooperative agents. And you have a monthly or weekly meeting and you're just talking about deals that are out there. Brilliant strategy. I love it.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. So with your agents that have actually said, okay, Pete, be my mentor in this. I want you to help me out. And you've actually coached them through the process. How many people have actually pulled the trigger and bought some properties? You've only been in business for 4 years, but is it starting to happen?
Yeah, it's definitely happening. JP, John Pavlansky is a great example. He's a rock star agent. He has freaking catapulted to the top of our board. He's only 22 years old, and he's put systems in place to be not only a rock star agent, but he's also listened to me. He's making a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And he can spend it on a lot of stupid things, especially
Yeah.
being young, right?
Right.
But he's very grounded and he's taking that money, investing in real estate. And at 22 years old, he's already has $1 million portfolio.
Wow.
Because he's leveraging his money. I preach that. I'm like, guys, every time I have $100,000, I'm leveraging that to buy $400,000 worth of real estate, right?
100%. Yes.
25% down. I'm
100%.
leveraging it every single time.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you get kind of stuck into the mix and you sell one and you help a buddy out and you sell another one. And now you have a 1031 that you have to use.
Right.
And I'm sorry, babe. I know you want the new house, but I can't help myself. I'm just going to have to buy more rental properties.
That's what my wife's always like, stop. The same thing. Yeah, man. I mean, right there with you.
Yeah, but they're doing it. They're listening. Some it goes in one ear and out the other, but I will continue repeating it until I die.
Yeah.
Because everyone can succeed in this business, which is really cool. There's enough to go around for everyone. And you said it about how the natural networking thing happens.
Yeah.
That's really what happened when we brought property management on.
Mm.
I have an amazing team. Christina's right out here and the team in property management, and she runs that whole thing. But, I was hesitant to start that because I know the work that is involved with property management.
Yeah.
But it was one of the best things we ever did because we are now networking with the top owners, the top landlords in the area. And not only that, the other top agents at other brokerages who are investor focused are now all of a sudden interested in what we have to say.
Sure.
So it's really been a good thing for us. I don't make a ton of money on property management itself, but the relationships is more valuable than anything that it has to offer.
Well, it's interesting because my wife owns a property management firm similar size. And I think what happens is too, you get there's a bunch of advantages for brokerage is that you get all these tenants that a lot of those tenants will become homeowners. And so, if they're at the $1,500, $2,000 rental range, they can be converted to homeowners at some point. So there's a natural there. And then you get these owners, like you're saying, that may want to sell, and that's a natural listing for your company, or maybe you want to buy it. So there's so many the synergies that can happen in that kind of relationship. I'm curious because you guys are doing so well. Do you guys have an in-house lender, or is that something you're working on doing, or something it's in your like your horizon, what you want to do?
I've looked at it. We looked at the Motto Mortgage franchise specifically. I just couldn't justify it at the time. We do have a Michelle Wallace with Union Home Mortgage, who is amazing, and
Yeah,
she's kind of like our go-to.
yeah,
We lease an office to her inside of our
same.
building here.
Yeah,
So that is how we can get around with having a relationship legally through
yeah,
RESPA.
yeah,
Um, so that is as close to an in-house lender as we have. And UHM, Union Home Mortgage, that's on the residential, that's on the buying and selling brokerage side.
yeah,
For the actual commercial stuff, we go a couple doors down the street. We're right downtown here in Mansfield, and we go down and see our friends at, Mechanics Bank, and they usually help us out. Or my buddies over on first over in Bucyrus, Travis Smith and those guys, Taylor Bogner. Love those guys, man. So yeah, it's just about building those relationships and um, you know, uh, helping everybody out.
yeah. So let's talk about your company now. You created this company within the last 4 years. You guys have been pretty vertical on your growth. A lot of people would be very envious of getting to 50 agents in 4 years. How have you attracted agents? What's been the way that agents have come to you and said, "Hey, Pete, I want to work for you"? What's been that kind of rise?
Well, I said, when I started out, I said, I just need one person to help me sell real estate. If I could have one person help me,
Yeah,
that would take a lot off my plate.
yeah,
But we kind of grew organically. And I was never a guy that said, hey, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to try and poach all the top agents in the area.
yeah,
But after talking with my good friend, and we grew, okay. But after talking with my good friend Jim Remley, he says your number one job
right,
now is to reach out to top producing agents in your area if you
yes,
want to succeed in
right.
business.
You want to rock it?
Right. So I took note of that. And so I continue to do that, and
Yeah,
just try to add value.
yeah,
And I think hopefully people can see that I'm very agent centric. The agents have one of the best splits in town,
yeah,
if not the best in town. You get into the bigger cities, Columbus, Cleveland, there's some pretty aggressive splits, but they are very stripped down brokerages.
yeah,
They don't offer much at all. We offer, investor mindset, agent centric, true independent contractors. You guys do not work for me as the broker. I work for you.
yeah,
I'm here to please you and to serve you as best that I can, so you won't leave and go somewhere else.
right.
And hopefully it's just that kind of that mindset. So how has it grown though? Is a good question. I think just helping others, help and serve others. And then
Yeah,
we love social media, so we're on there all the time having fun. We're very loose.
yeah,
We're serious when we need to be, but we are very loose and we have a lot of fun. So therefore, we've got a great, fun, young crowd who is just a bunch of energetic hustlers, young
yeah,
hustlers.
yeah.
And I'm surrounded by young entrepreneurs with a great energy. It's the law of attraction, right? What you emit, you will receive.
Yes.
And so what I emit is, hey, we're going to succeed. We're going to work hard,
Yeah.
never give up, and
Yeah.
dream huge.
I
And
love
those are our top three rules. And that's our motto. And it's on a 20-foot high graffiti wall in our office.
love it.
So that is just that energy that helps, just what I emit, I also receive, and it helps to attract other like-minded folks. So I think that really helps. And hopefully they look at me and they see, hey, this guy did it. He's just a normal average guy.
Yeah.
He built, a $18 million real estate portfolio. I can do that too, simply by hanging around and just
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
And and they are. And there's guys like JP, he's going to put me to shame. He's going to make way more than me. And that's
Right.
what I want them all to make more than me. That's the
Absolutely.
mindset. I want them all to be more successful than
That's
me.
what great leaders do. And I think what you touched on something which I think is so underrated at most real estate companies is you can have a real estate company that's got the best strategy, the best technology, the best of this, that, and the other branding, all this stuff. But if the culture is not right and people hate to go to work there, it doesn't matter. You got to love going to work there. Somebody told me years ago, culture beats strategy every day of the week. You want both, but you sounds like you guys are really cultivating an amazing culture at your company, which I think is so underrated as a company. So having a place that people enjoy coming to work and your true leadership from leading from the front makes a big difference. Now I got a question for you. You don't even know this, but your social media works. And because I'm on your social media feeds and I'm seeing your social media, and your social media is not all real estate related necessarily. It's all a bunch of stuff. It's just you living life a lot.
Yeah.
You are, and I don't want to embarrass you, but you're ripped, man. You are in fantastic physical shape. I mean, no question. I mean, it's very impressive.
Appreciate
So,
it.
I'm a believer that to be a corporate athlete, which is what we have to have high energy, and you have to have that high energy to come in every day and be motivated, be fired up, and inspire others around you. I mean, what does that look like for you? Obviously, you're extremely healthy and keeping
Mhm.
yourself tuned up. What does it look like for you? And how does that work? And how does that fit into your life? Because you're a busy guy.
Yeah, it's 6 a.m. every morning at the gym.
Yeah,
And then working out with the boys at home, after, if I can squeeze in an evening, a little thing
extra.
with the boys at home.
Yeah,
Um, and I love it. I wouldn't live without it. I go crazy if I don't get it in.
right.
It's a huge stress reliever, and a good friend of mine um kind of changed my life around. I've always been a fitness nut, but he made me start lifting in the mornings. He
Hmm.
said, you have to do it in the mornings, Pete. It keeps you honest the night before. Okay.
Yeah.
It makes you
Uh-huh.
behave. It
Uh,
sets your tone for the day.
yeah.
It's a huge stress reliever. If you go all out first thing in the morning, those problems you face throughout the day, they get diminished very much so because
Yeah, crushed by
I done
200
kicked my
pounds.
ass already this morning.
Uh,
So it takes the level of stress is way down. And then yeah, just playing ball with the boys in the evenings.
I love it. I
But
love
you
it.
are the average of your five closest friends. And if your five closest friends are drinking and smoking,
Yep.
look around, and they got big
Yep.
old beer bellies. Look around who you're hanging with. You need to change your friends, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they can still be your friends, but don't have them be your five closest. So,
Right.
and I've been through that stage.
Yeah.
I've been through that stage as well, but I'm much happier now.
Yeah, yeah. So with your own agent body, do you find them that they want to model you and they're like, wow, Pete's doing it. I should follow this model.
Oh yeah, we've already got the reputation about like, being a bunch of meatheads and everything that they call us.
It's
I'll
okay.
take it. I
Yeah.
mean, there's much worse out there.
Well, I think what you're doing
But
is,
yeah.
and you're doing something that's really interesting, which is you're creating an aspirational goal for people. So you're doing that in multiple fronts now. You're doing this from your health, and you're also doing it from your wealth standpoint. You're doing it from building a great culture. And people on the outside, no matter how much they want to crap talk you, they still want it. They're like, I want to live like that guy, or I want to be in an office that reflects that. That's what I want in my life, right? So I think you're doing exactly the right things. It's brilliant. Great
Hopefully,
strategies.
man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And it
Yeah.
wasn't never planned. It was just kind of just always been a nut for it. And it's
Yeah.
it's fun to be around others who are as well. And
Yeah.
we always mess with each other and just push each other. So it's fun.
So you have a physical location, correct? So
Yes.
there's a lot of offices that are, they have an aggressive commission plan. A lot of them are virtual. You have a physical location where people can come in and work, and then you got some staff there that can help them as well.
Yeah, I thought that was huge when I started out. We have to have a physical presence. I wanted to be on street level with like retail walk up.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a nice street presence with branding.
Yeah.
Nice huge sign. I got a billboard on this side. We have another nice big sign on the front.
Nice.
Um, yeah, that was a story in itself. So we got this place for 25,000, which I thought was a deal until the
Wow.
rehab started.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was going to be 100 grand to rehab, and it'll be in 200,000 to rehab.
Wow.
Yeah, so because I've never done a commercial rehab. You
Yeah.
have to have permits, everything has to have a drawing, you have to have an architect involved.
Yeah.
So we ended up learning how to do it the right way. And it's funny, and yeah, not everything is, I don't want to make it say like everything is going 100% roses here, because look, we have problems too. You know, we're
Yeah.
already outgrowing the space.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if we need to find a bigger space, I don't want to overpay for a space. I'm trying to think about house hacking a new space.
Yeah.
So with, there's always problems. You will
Yeah. There's always
always be
something.
looking for ways. I don't care how big you are, you're always looking for ways to increase revenue and decrease your expenses.
Yep.
And yeah, it's nice that we have those good problems. But so yeah, we do go circling back to that. We do have our own building, and we need a bigger one.
That's a good problem to have. A lot of offices are going smaller. You're going bigger. That means you're on a growth curve, which is
Yes.
absolutely amazing. So with your agent group, are they mostly full-time, part-time, a mix? What does it look like for you?
Um, it's a mix.
It's a
It's
mix. Okay.
probably the old 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
20% of the agents produce 80% of the business.
Yeah.
Um, I was real loose to start off with. I want to take on anyone and everyone,
Yeah.
but I've kind of, after again talking with you, there's got to be some guidelines in place, and there's got to be, for me, I got to have a couple deals in year one. I got to like have a handful of deals in year two and beyond, and I have to know that if you're not full time yet, you have the plan to go full time, or
Excellent.
at least get me something like in that handful of deals range, because just enough to cover the overhead. Again,
Yeah.
I have 200 going on 256 units, right? So the
Yeah.
brokerage is just an accessory piece for me,
Yeah.
but the brokerage still has to be profitable,
Absolutely.
and
100%.
we still have to grow, and we have to be profitable, and we have to be profitable so I can market, so we can grow, so the agents can succeed more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we be profitable? Well, agents have to produce.
Yep. Yep.
And then we can all succeed more. So you've really helped me with, holding the agents accountable. We now
Mhm.
have, as part of our weekly meeting, a weekly checklist that we go over with them. We have Araya, who's doing an amazing job as an office manager. She's reaching out to 2 agents a week, getting face to face with them. And this is nice, because they will tell her things that they won't tell me,
Exactly. I love it. I love it.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting great feedback, and
Yeah.
I want the negative feedback. I
Exactly. That's how
want
you
the
grow.
criticism.
Yeah.
I wish they would be more open with me, but we are listening, and I'm making changes every week. But again, driving that accountability partnership, and driving them towards being a full-time, more successful agent, so they can do more for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's important. One of the things that we've done at our company, we do a focus group. So we say every quarter, six to 10 agents, we buy them lunch. They come in, no management's allowed. We just have a secretary in there taking notes, and they can just talk about whatever they think that we need to improve at the company. We get the notes back as management, and then we sometimes we can do things, sometimes we can't, but we've made a bunch of positive changes to the company because of those meetings. So it's exactly right in line with what you're doing, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I think one of the things that we've talked about, but it's super important, is having this idea that you got to have some agent accountability, and agents, that's one thing they resist sometimes, but accountability is so important. We're coming into this time of year right now is we're filming this in October, but this is kind of the time of year, or not October, but September, but we're coming into the last season of the year. And this is the time of year when people start doing goal setting. How important is goal setting for you personally? And what are you doing with your agents to do some goal setting this time of year? What is your plan?
Yeah. So the I try and drive home the fact that we are their accountability partners.
Yeah.
And when I bring them on, I've totally 180'd on that. When I brought them on, I would say this: look, I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to hold you accountable for anything. I'm giving you all the tools on day one. I even wrote a book too, Contacts Equals Contracts. I give them my book. I said,
Love it.
everything is in this book that you need to know to be successful. Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a failing formula. Okay. The way to do it is hold them accountable, and like you said, set goals. So, and I've done a 180 on that, and I said, hey, look, if I didn't care about you, then I wouldn't push you forward. I care about you, and I want you to succeed for your family. So therefore, it's my job to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
A broker that doesn't care about you you will never see them. You will never hear from them. they will not push you at all.
Right.
So, I'm holding them accountable. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you, Jim, what can I do better?
Yeah.
And it's having them set goals this fall.
Yeah.
I have the accountability worksheet, and that's a daily task sheet. Like, do you have your buyer's presentation? Do you have your seller's presentation? Which I know I keep tooting your horn, but you
Yeah.
provided us with great buyers and sellers presentations, which we have customized on Canva and shared with the team.
Love it.
Do you have those dialed in? Are you using them? And we go on down the list, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But it needs to be on there. How many deals do you anticipate?
Yep.
How many people are in your sphere?
Yeah.
Do you know the 1 to 10 ratio? For every 10 people in your sphere, one of those will close, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we need to go ahead and set goals with them this fall.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
Well, we all need to do that, right? I think that's so important, because, agents often will not do that on their own. And sometimes as brokerage leaders, we have to stand up and say, hey, we got to get this done. We're going to do a workshop and dial this in. So moving forward for your company, and you're growing your company, it looks like you're going to maybe adding a location or growing into another location. What is the end goal for you? What would you like to see your company 5 years from now? Where would you like to be?
When my youngest son, Gavin, graduates, I will be 53. So what is that? That's like, what is it?
6, 7 years?
It's like 6 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my wife and I are going to be financially free. We're financially free today,
Yeah.
but we got to take the kids to ball practice and to school.
You're stuck.
So we're stuck, which I love. I love it. Great place to raise a family, Richland County, Ohio.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurs should never retire. Entrepreneur will only build until the day they die, and put more systems in place and step back more and pay others more to
Yes.
do to run those systems, and
Yes.
hire better folks, or
Yeah.
promote better folks from within, I should say,
Yep.
and empower them more, and give yourself more freedom, but continue to build. Entrepreneurs do not retire.
No.
So we're going to continue to build, and the brokerage will be run by someone who is not me. We had a guy on the podcast. He's a CVO. Do you know what CVO stands for,
No,
Jim?
but a CBO, no.
Chief Visionary Officer.
I love it.
Okay. And so it happened to be his business was here in Ohio, and he was in Florida on the podcast. Okay. That's what CVOs do.
So he's out there and he's just giving them some vision.
Right.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So
The
that
ultimate
we will
goal.
continue to grow. And again, I need to do a better job on goal setting on that. I don't have
Yeah.
specific numbers.
Yeah.
We had a property management meeting earlier today. And they said, you're at 600 units. What's your growth path for property management look like? I'm like, dude, right now, honestly, we just want to do better with what we have.
Yeah.
We just brought on 46 units. We're looking to dial that in the best that we can before we even think about growing.
Yeah.
So yeah, growth is always, if you ain't growing, you're dying. I agree with that 100%. So we grow by serving others well, and it kind of happens organically. But I get it, man. To really scale up, you got to put some real growth numbers on it and start to just scale. And I preached that to the team the other day too. I said, choose things that you can scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you can't, figure out how to scale it. Because we only got so many hours on this planet.
Yeah.
And it's those who can figure out scale that can really, really take it to the next level.
I think it's really interesting you said that. One of my mentors and coaches told me years ago, at some point in your life, you got to stop trading time for money. And I thought that was such a revelation for me, and it changed my life. In the beginning, you have to, right? Because we've got to learn how to do the things right, and we've got to build the systems out, which means we've got to do the work. But eventually, exactly what you're saying, we hand that work off to somebody else who's going to run the system, so that we can not be tied to trading time for money. Because as soon as you're trading time for money, you're trapped, and that's what we got to get away from. And your whole path of the way you're coaching and training agents to invest in real estate, I think is going to all help them to get there. I always tell people, I don't want to die with a pen in my hand over a desk someday. I want to be on a beach with a margarita, right? That's where I want to be. Yeah. So I think you're helping agents get there. Pete, amazing, amazing conversation. If somebody's in your marketplace and they say, I've got to, connect with Pete, I want to learn more from him. I want to get mentored by him. I want to be coached by him. I want to, be a part of his organization. How can somebody get a hold of you?
419-566-8637, baby. Hit the
Oh,
cell.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Also,
Let's go.
I might not answer. I had to turn off uh, unknown callers,
Yeah.
because you get
So many calls. I just
calls
got
a
one.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
So I
right.
silence unknown callers, but leave a message
Yeah.
and I'll get back to you. Also Instagram, Peter B. Peterson, Dream Huge Realty on Instagram. Dreamhuge.com is the website, just
Yep.
dreamhuge.com. You can contact us on there.
Love it.
So any of those ways.
And then, of course, if you got a referral for that area of Ohio, I'm sure you'd love all the referrals for any other agents and brokers that might have a referral coming your way. So I'm sure you'd be able.
Yes, absolutely. Love to help folks out in Central Ohio.
Okay, man. Thank you so much. Great interview. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
You bet.